Hello, I'm Backwater Jay, and welcome back to Roleplay 101. In this series, we'll be exploring the unwritten rules of roleplay etiquette and guidelines to creating and roleplaying a unique and memorable character. These concepts will apply regardless of format, so whether you're on tabletop, online RPGs, or Discord or Forum RP, you should be able to put this to good use. I'd also like to stress that while I've had a good deal of experience, what follows is my personal opinion. If you find something else works better with you and your group, use it. There are no hard rules to this except everyone should have fun. Also, a quick word about pronouns. Occasionally I will use he or him to refer to a person of indeterminate gender. I don't imply any bias with this, it is merely the most elegant, by which I mean the least clunky, solution we have in modern English. I've timed this video to roughly coincide with the release of my first official film under the Dissociative Identity brand. If you haven't seen Curse the Murder Hobo, you can check it out right here, or in the end cards. It's not strictly necessary to check out to understand today's topic, but you might enjoy it. So, laws and consequences. I know, what a downer. We're in a game of fantasy escapism to have fun and get away from real-life stressors like that, right? Well, yes and no. While many of us do roleplay to put aside the rigors of life, roleplay does not exist in a vacuum. Rather, it flourishes in a carefully fleshed-out world with laws and rules of its own. So let me address the elephant in the room first. Aren't adventurers exceptional characters? Aren't they supposed to break a few laws now and then? Again, yes and no. While some skirting of legality is almost unavoidable in an adventurer's career, particularly if you play a roguish archetype, in most settings it should be the exception and not the rule. I say most settings because there are those sorts of campaigns, Shadowrun comes to mind, where the characters are by definition operating outside the laws, where every mission could potentially get them arrested, imprisoned, or outright killed by law enforcement. But even in these settings, actions have consequences. I speak of the unwritten code of ethics that the majority of people, regardless of culture, nationality, and faith, tend to follow. Not to delve too deeply into philosophy, but people have an inborn sense of right or wrong about such things as murder, abuse, theft, and dishonesty. In short, we have a sense of justice. If we or someone we love is wronged, we try our hardest to make sure the offender pays for his wrongdoing. And if this doesn't happen through official channels, whether the government is corrupt, misinformed, or simply incompetent, it tends to happen the dirty, personal way. This is where vigilante justice and blood feuds come from, and both are very possible NPC responses to PC violations. So what does violation of an in-world code look like? Obviously, the extreme form of this would be the murder hobo mentality, where your character assumes everything is theirs for the taking and kill anyone who tries to tell them otherwise. Such characters tend to be short-lived, as sooner or later the powers that be find a way to either execute them for their crimes or lock them up securely. They can also be a very real danger to campaign balance due to the abnormal influx of wealth, as well as a hindrance to the plot, as they tend to have more interest in their personal quest for power than any hooks the GM or other characters may throw at them. This syndrome can get a lot worse in MMOs or looser forum settings where there is no official out-of-character arbiter such as a GM. Even if someone roleplays law enforcement, they're likely to be ignored or god-modded into impotence. That's your extreme, obviously. But there are other instances that don't draw as much attention to themselves. For instance, who hasn't enjoyed playing a sneaky rogue that can pilfer the pockets of everyone in the room without their knowledge? I mean, consequences only come if you get caught, right? Likewise, many wizards figure out that they can enchant their way out of most confrontations with the law. But if these behaviors are repeated, as Johnny Cash would have it, sooner or later God will cut you down. To take this from another angle, if your character shows a flagrant disregard for the law and morality, you're not playing a hero. You're playing a villain. And while, yes, a party of evil characters can be a fun diversion, such games tend to be short-lived for a reason. Consequences of their actions have a tendency to catch up with them, whether it's the law or their own lack of scruples. If you're playing that sort of evil character right, after all, you should have no qualms about turning on party members if you stand to benefit from it. So what am I saying here? Should you always abide by every in-game law at all times? Unless you're a particularly fanatical brand of lawful neutral, probably not. Because in-game, as in real life, sometimes a personal code of ethics trumps rigid adherence to the legal code. Sometimes lawmakers make mistakes, and sometimes they are blatantly corrupt. Every once in a while, your character may have to make a choice to defy even a good law in pursuit of the greater good. Whether or not they choose to do so creates an interesting tension and potential character and story development. And I think that's the crux of the matter. Does your law-breaking drive the story and the characters forward, or does it hold them back? Certainly when law enforcement catches up with your character, it can throw a major wrench in the GM's plans, unless that was the plan, And you'll often run into a situation where you either have to roll a new character to participate, or your teammates have to come up with and execute an elaborate jailbreak scheme, often with a ticking clock and no real advancement of the plot. That is, of course, unless the lawbreaking itself was part of the greater plot, in which case your GM should already have plans for what happens. If he doesn't, that's on him, not you. So yes, if it moves the plot forward, go ahead and break the law. But make sure you as a player plan your actions carefully, and keep the possible consequences to you, your teammates, and potentially your loved ones in mind. In short, it's something that should not be taken lightly. Well, that's it for this installment of Roleplay 101. If I've been of assistance or entertainment, I'd encourage you to like, subscribe, comment, ring the notification bell, and check out the new merch store and Patreon. I'll see you next time.